Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button and hit that notification bell, because today we are getting into Future State Kara Zor-El Superwoman, issue number 2. And if you haven't been keeping up with the Future State, go ahead and check out the link in my description. That will get you completely caught up in all 30 something issues that have come out so far. And with that being said, let's dive into this issue. Alright guys, so we're picking up with issue number 2. And we last left off, the moon colony built around Superwoman's Fortress of Solitude is under siege by shape-shifting aliens that have come to take this place in search of Lynari, a refugee from their homeworld. Now, Lynari's aunt tells Superwoman that she's going to stand down, and they let her know that they can tell that she's rusty and that she's out here because she only has a small grasp of what the truth is. And they tell her Lynari is a murderer that scorched out her own family. And then they go into the story, how they come from a folk called the Lynthi on the Star Swamp asteroid, and Lynari's side of the family took to the sea, while the other side took to the sky. Eons ago, the family split over control of the Starfell Jewel, the gem that would make one of them a god among the others. And them knowing this individual not to be a god, but just empowered with the abilities of a god, war broke out. A family feud that would last the eons, as they tore every little scrap of that asteroid apart, hunting for the jewel, passing it hand to hand, killing each other over who would inherit it. And her brother, Lynari's father, dug the jewel up from the muck, and it became a part of him. But only one can hold the Starfell Jewel. For the one who bears it, the previous bearer has to die. And he knew Lynari was outnumbered. He knew that they were coming. So he tore the jewel right out of his own heart, killing himself, all so Lynari can inherit the jewel. And so they hold Lynari responsible for the death, because if she were stronger or a better child, they wouldn't have needed the protection. And so in their eyes, this is murder. And this is where Wonder Woman has heard enough. And she says Lynari is under her protection. But this is when they pull out a plan B. Like, sure, you could fight us, Superwoman, but we have a quantum detonator. So you're gonna do as we say, or we will blow this whole moon to smithereens and use Lynari's hide to protect ourselves. And she calls it a bluff, but they say we aren't bluffing. And it explodes, and we see fire surrounding them. And Superwoman jumps into action, and she's worried because all the people she has helped and saved, to see everything that they've built threatened now, it terrifies her. But she's gonna stop it, and she fights these things, these shape-shifting creatures. And we see her go full freaking Kryptonian on them. But this is when Lynari comes up and lets her know that she's not gonna let this happen. She's not gonna let anybody or anything lose their life or see this place destroyed simply because of her. And so she uses the power of the jewel and rises herself to the sky and grabs on to her kinfolk and lets them know, here is your choice, which you never gave me. What do you want? And it can't be about me. They say that they don't want to be afraid anymore. They don't want to be afraid that they're going to be hunted down and killed. But they don't want to be afraid anymore. And she lets them know that if she forswears her family, forswears the Star Swamp asteroid and the old familiar feuds and all the blood debts that go with them, will they leave her in peace? And while two of them agree, her aunt says never. And so she says, then you won't die by your choice. You will live by it. We will all live. And she uses the power of the jewel to free them all. She took the power from Wonder Woman, became stronger than she ever had been before. She took the abilities away from her aunt and the rest of her family, and to include herself, burned it all up like rage. There's nothing left. There's no more Starfall Jewel. And so they're gonna stay here on the moon with Kara. And she's gonna teach her about the cities, about flowers and dogs and people. And you're gonna learn to stop inheriting nothing but power and rage and blood and violence, and you're gonna learn to build something. And though it took longer than they thought for Superwoman's powers to come back, they eventually did. And after that, people were kinder to her, especially when they accepted her cousins on Earth without any kind of sacrifice like this, without losing their powers. And they will always remember one phrase she said: "No one is born wise, but if they're lucky, in time, they get there." And people heard far and wide what happened. They heard about the cousins that came back, adrift without someone to guide them. Some of them had darkness down in their minds, down in their memories. They wanted what Superwoman had offered. So people came, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And eventually, over time, Wonder Woman aged. And now that once fortress of Solitude is brimming with life. Generations have come. We see the love and change she made in the worlds of many worlds. This place and these people that Kara taught and cared for, raised and cherished, they still thrive in their eternal garden. And this is where we see the grave of Superwoman and Crypto. And that will be the end of this issue. And this will be closing out Superwoman as a whole. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I think it's a really nice closeout for Superwoman. Now, I'm sure she had plenty of more adventures in between these times and many more threats that they had to face. But Superwoman really did build a world for the outcasts, for the nobodies, for the people that were shunned by society or left adrift, lost in a world they didn't feel like they belonged to. This was the place for them. So all starting as a moon colony and the Fortress of Solitude, slowly building over generations and generations, becoming a place that literally has a booming population and everybody is taking care of one another. So all in all, I have to say it was a really good issue. I liked it. I would like to see a lot more of Superwoman's adventures in between this time, and hopefully we're gonna get that with what's coming from DC Comics here in the near future. But yeah, if you guys have not yet, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, check out my Patreon if you have not already. Tons of exclusives for Patreon members only. Check out our podcast, Comic Breakdown and More podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Friday, covering everything we cover here on the channel, to Wonder Woman 84, to WandaVision, and so much more. And with that being said, until the next video.